Syrian refugee crisis is now being described as the most catastrophic humanitarian disaster since the Rwandan Genocide. Those were the words of the UN High Commissioner for Refugees at a meeting of the major host countries for Syrian refugees. In the Zaatari camp in Jordan, Antonio Guterres and several foreign ministers agreed it's time for the international community to increase its support for Syrian refugees and the countries hosting them.
We call on the international community to step up to the challenge, to be more active and forthcoming in burden sharing, and we remind that this crisis has reached levels in which lip service and fig leaves are beyond being unhelpful, but are counterproductive and have become a distraction from the real issues.
This year, the UNHCR requested $4.25 billion to cope with the refugee crisis in Jordan, Lebanon, Turkey, Egypt, and Iraq. So far, only 25% of the money has been received. And this time, there were calls on more countries to open their borders to Syrians leaving their country because of the war.
It is necessary that countries around the world, not only the countries of the region, countries around the world, keep their borders open to Syrian refugees.
There was also criticism of the international community's failure to find a political solution for Syria, particularly the UN Security Council.
UN Security Council unfortunately does not impose anything on the regime. Waiting for the mercy of the regime does not help us.
There are now 3 million refugees outside Syria and 6.5 million displaced internally.
Governments in countries neighboring Syria say they are frustrated by what they call the world's inadequate response. That explains why these refugees living under harsh conditions say they are struggling and suffering every day.
Abu Jihad from Dar'a has been living in a Zaatari camp for over a year. He says there has to be more financial support for Syrians because he's afraid he could end up living here for several years.
We thought we'd be here for days, but what if we end up staying for 10 years?
The ministers at the meeting say the crisis is growing at an unimaginable rate. None expect it to end soon. Nisreen El-Shamayleh, Jazeera, Zaatari camp.